And I'm from the church Brothers Keepers Outreach Ministry. Not the Brother Keeper that was on the old New Jack City. But I'm also the host of the Bradley Report. And it's being presented by United in Peace, Inc., which I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc. United in Peace, Inc. doesn't make endorsements. United in Peace, Inc. is not a registered voter. But I am a registered voter. So sometimes me personally, will be making an endorsement for a candidate that I think would do the right thing. And you got a right to endorse the candidate that you want. And sometimes I might even have you on my show so that you can tell my viewing audience why you picked your candidate. The producer of this show is none other than Dr. Terry Marsh Bradley. She's also the chairman of United in Peace, Inc. We got an interesting show for you. And did I forget to say, sometime I'm being humble when I say it. She's also my wife, so you know I got favor with God by him blessing me with her. We got a very interesting show. You know, we talk about global politics, national politics, but we in Chicago. So we're going to be dealing with local politics, especially with the Protect Chicago budget for 2026. People feel like that's the people's budget. Some people say that's Mayor Brandon Johnson's budget. And you got people that's for it, you got people that's against it. Me, I happen to be somewhat in support of it. And this show is going to show you why I made that decision so that you can see and get both sides. And you make your determination. So I want to say to God be the glory. Sister Monty, let's get on with the story. Good morning, Chairman. First of all, I want to say to God be the glory. I've learned a lot from listening to the young lady talk about their pets. I'm a pet owner, and they're more than animals. It's almost like they're part of your family, the humanity of caring about a dog. And when you spell dog backwards, it spells God. I'm in full support of this budget, mainly because I read today and heard on the news that Chicago is the #1 city in the country where crime has came down. I also support this budget because the mayor said that the new revenue will come from just 3% of corporate America. And then I heard him say, instead of the companies having 100 members or employees, he moved it up to just the companies that have 200. So I guess that's 2%. I also want to say to God be the glory, and if you need this budget to keep on doing what y'all doing with the law department that helps stop senseless pain of lawyers to defend cases that they can't win. And I'm standing on behalf of Mark Maxson and Gerald Reed. Gerald Reed, that's case, it just continues. To God be the glory. Thanks for listening to Gator's story. Thank you. You know, and I would recommend this to my viewing audience. Sometimes, if you can do it, go to the various committee meetings that the city council was having, especially the budget committee, the finance committee, and the city council. There's other committees that's happening where they have meetings, and I would advise you to go. If you can't go, go online so that you could know what is happening in our city. And that way you be voicing, in my opinion, the pro and cons of one's conversation, because it will help bring about less argument, more tolerance for one's opinion, because it make it where they have to tolerate your opinion. So, Amani, let's get to the next piece.
City council members said that, I was moving too fast, which I can accept that analysis. I was with my family this past Sunday. My father's, is going to be 84, and we're going through a difficult time as he, suffers with Alzheimer's. And this past Sunday, I also spent some time with Reverend Jackson, two men who have been just incredible examples for me in my life. And one of the things that I can admit that I picked up from my father, he's a man of his generation. And I tease about this, but this man retired with hundreds of sick days. And, his work ethic was one that, I admired watching him, raising 10 and pastoring a church and running a small business as a general contractor, just trying to make the ends meet. And many times it didn't. And so sometimes my hustle, quite frankly, my drive is reflective of the man who raised me. That when you are focused on doing what you know is right, that there are moments when I, maybe put up, just a strong light towards the goal, and I'll go full speed ahead, because that urgency, comes from a mentality that families don't have time to wait. They can't live in that level of anxiety. So I admit it, I was moving fast, and they can thank Andrew Leon Johnson Jr. for that, as well as, someone who has stood up for working people his entire career, Reverend Jackson, where the time is always right to do what is right. And so we've slowed the process down. I admit that I have that working class mentality to just get it done because it's the right thing to do. As far as just like, putting a absolute, time frame on, when folks should actually show up with their work. My only recommendation is that there are lines of Chicagoans right now of people who do not have food, you guys. And if you've never gone hungry, you wouldn't know why I have that urgency. If you've never opened up your refrigerator and there's nothing in it, poverty sucks. Poverty sucks. These people are playing games with working people in this city. We're talking about $100 million in a $6 billion budget for families who do not have food, people who don't have scarves and gloves and coats and toiletries, people who can't pay the rent. Corporations are making a killing right now, and we have elders that are more interested in defending these big corporations than families like mine who went without food and electricity and could not afford rent and mortgage. The vast majority of the people in this city are struggling every single day just to make the ends meet, and we have elders that are playing games with those families. Get me something I can work with. Get me something I can work with. But challenging the ultra-rich in this country to put more skin in the game, that should not be considered a radical idea. You know what the bigger threat to our society is? It's what James Baldwin said. He said, when ignorance and power is allied, it is the most ferocious enemy of justice. That's what we're dealing with right now. Ignorance and power that has lined itself up against justice. Justice will prevail. Chicago will come out stronger. And I'm going to use every single tool that's available to me to protect all of Chicago. A budget that passes, that's balanced, and it's not off the backs of working people. That's what Chicago deserves, and that's what I'm going to deliver. Thank you all.
His passion. I know I do and others do. Because it's real. He's been in office for 2.5 years. He's done a lot within that 2.5 years. He's had mentors that he's just now sharing it with a lot of people. Imagine this. As a young man that had became an activist, based around the educational piece. Then a guy wanted to use him because he wanted to run for county. Now, I'm not talking about Brandon. Brandon didn't want to run. This guy used Brandon to, for lack of a better phrase, to hold his spot as a commissioner. So he had Brandon to get petition signed for him to become a Cook County commissioner. Because Boykin was his name. Because Boykin, who was a Cook County commissioner, he wanted to run for the county board president. But when he made that decision to run for county board president, I don't know. I'm just assuming that he wasn't fully aware that he would have to give up his seat, as it were, as a Cook County commissioner. And then when he realized that, it was too late. Brandon had got out there, and the people loved what Brandon was talking about, what he was going to do if he become a Cook County commissioner. I know this because I was instrumental in, hey man, run for Cook County commissioner. And I tell everybody, if you want to run for an office, run for the office. I may not always be with you, but you got a right to run for office. So there was an issue with this young lady by the name of Loretta. They call her Lolo on the west side. Her mother was in this nursing home. And that nursing home was treating her real bad. So Lolo had reached out to me, and I was working with her and helping to get some attention about the hospital. By then, Brandon was a Cook County commissioner. he made the move to help Loretta. I'll call her Lolo, so we're going to say Lolo. And they got a lot of attention. Even though it wasn't in his district, he realized it was a health issue. So he became Cook County Commissioner. Went from CTU organizer, a school teacher, Cook County Commissioner. And lo and behold, he saw how everybody was trying to get rid of Lori, and they did. But he was plan B. They didn't see him coming, so he became the mayor. But he heard about John Strozier and what he was going through. As a child, he heard his parents, everybody talking about Harold Washington. And he aspired to be Harold Washington. And lo and behold, he became the mayor. Development behind Lori started sprouting up in the black community. That's what he did. Then the No Kings thing happened. When a 250,000 people came to Grand Park. And I told the mayor, I believe God has found favor in you and in Chicago. That he allowed you to take a message, or he used you as a vessel to take a message to 250,000 people. To let someone that was attacking Chicago and sending troops in there, and some people were saying he was a tyrant or whatever it is. I'm saying that to say this. Just what y'all watched that happened in New York, that was a people's movement. That you saw a couple of Tuesdays ago, that blue wave that just went across pretty much the country, it's people's movement. And there's a people movement here because they're seeing all the games that Trump been playing and MAGA been playing, and Trump even played the games on MAGA. But this budget is simple. If you are a business person, and if you have to pay a tax, say $21, but he's talking about something else. We're going to get you that too. I understand that when it comes time for you to pay taxes on your business, or the income tax, or whatever it is, you're able to charge cost to your business and get it right off. But I think, Sister Amani, we got one more on there, right? Can we go to that? Let's hit that now.
And it won't change their minds.
Mayor Brandon Johnson offering a compromise head tax plan that he hopes will be more palatable to any opponents who might be on the fence. The new proposal would tax Chicago companies with more than 500 employees at $33 per employee per month. The original plan impacted those with more than 100 employees, charging $21 per employee per month. The mayor says his community safety surcharge would only impact about 175 of the largest corporations in the city.
The community safety surcharge would account for roughly 0.0008% of their annual revenue. That's less than 1,000%.
Pat Dowell, the influential chair of the Finance Committee, remains staunchly opposed.
I think this is the current proposal is making a bad policy even worse.
All these small inputs, like a head tax, determine whether or not a big employer moves to a city like Chicago. And this is simply another symbol of why you shouldn't come here. And I think it's a big, big mistake.
The mayor counting on big companies being willing to pay the price and stay in Chicago even if they oppose the head tax.
These
huge corporations are not going to make a financial decision based upon what essentially could be a rounding error.
But it's the decisions of a majority of city council members that the mayor needs to focus on first, with 27 now supporting an alternative budget.
If it's prepared and ready to go tomorrow, we'll introduce it tomorrow, and if not, we'll introduce it later.
The mayor also seeming confident of his plan getting passed.
Now, in terms of when we actually put it up on the board, we'll talk with our IGA team. I'm ready to go now, right? I mean, I believe that the budget that I presented was ready to go.
So it's possible the alders or even the mayor could introduce a budget plan tomorrow, not for a vote though, but it seems unlikely at this point. What it will come down to is which side believes they have the 26 votes needed to pass the budget, and that has to be done by the end of the year.
Right, so that's not changing the deadline to get this done.
It's not.
Okay.
It's still work to be done.
We'll keep watching.
Yep.
Right, thank you.
When Harold Washington was in office, it was something known as the Council Wars, 29, 21. People in the community is saying that this is reminding them of the Council Wars. You heard it for yourself. That was fresh. That happened today. And like he says, if you got some, bring it on. And I'm saying this. The people is in tune because he stand on message. Well, what's the message? Reverend Dr. Gator, what's the message? The message is simple. No property tax. He has a plan to bring in new revenue. Everybody knows that Mayor Daley sold off revenue streams. I believe another mayor helped get rid of a revenue stream, which was the tollway. Mayor Daley, and you had aldermen, and like Alderman Beal even voted for it. The parking meters would have been a straight revenue. They sold that off. But from what I've read and from what people are saying in the city, former Mayor Daley, some kind of way has some parts of the contract. I don't know. That's what they're saying. But you can Google it. Matter of fact, I'm going to Google it after I finish talking to you. The mayor's budget, as you saw it earlier, broke it down where he's talking about bringing in new streams of revenue. And he broke it down where the money that he's asking for from the 2% or the maybe 3% of the richest businesses within the city of Chicago. He knows that that will be a tax write-off for those businesses. And somewhere I've read and heard from scripture that it's encompassing on the rich to try to help the poor. I want to say this. Everybody, let's stay prayerful. And if you know Brother Ulysses Floyd, his son was Amani Floyd, the young man that died. I was at their funeral today. I spoke, the mayor came by the funeral. Secretary of State, Janulius came by the funeral, and a host of others came by the funeral. 2 schools came by the funeral that he went to. And it was nice. Got a chance to see a lot of old friends. But there's a message that I want to say. Young adults, Nobody know the hour when an individual is gonna die. Anybody say that they do? Listen to him, don't say nothing to him, and get away from him. Because he's saying that he's God, and he's not. And as we all know, as I close this show, that the God that we serve, let everybody know that he is a jealous God. So without further ado, I want to say to God be the glory to you, and stay prayerful.